And, of course, it is NFL trade deadline day, 4 o'clock today.
It's a scary day. A lot of fans.
You mean as a player it's a scary day?
As a fan.
What about as a player, though? Like, are you on edge all day if you're a player?
Nah, not really. I mean, unless you're a guy that is thinking about getting traded, unless you're a guy who wants to get traded, like Devontae Adams, he's probably like, please trade me.
Well, speaking of Jones and Mego, I heard Matthew Slater yesterday talk about, and he's been here for 18 years.
It's a bit like, it's somewhere 15, 16, somewhere in that range.
Talk about how this team is in uncharted waters and that he's been lucky where he generally has not been on a roster in which you needed to think about a sell situation. And I don't know how you can be Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, and look at where this team is now and not be in a sell situation, unfortunately, right?
I would think that.
But how could you look at the team last year and not say we need to add quality receivers? I mean, there have been. How could you say at the end of last year that they didn't need to improve their offensive line?
Well, did they just miss on Juju Smith-Schuster when it came to what they thought was adding a quality receiver, Curtis?
Well, it's a pretty big whiff, no?
Yeah.
I mean, Tyquan Thornton, a second-round pick, sucks. Juju Smith-Schuster was benched was a healthy scratch until the fourth quarter. I mean, there have been so many points that we have reached following this organization where the clear need existed and they did nothing to correct it.
Well, they did something. It was just the wrong something.
They didn't do they refused to spend the money required to get the talent that they were needing. And the Riley Reif signing, what a disaster that was. Calvin Anderson, bust. Cole Strange, mediocre at best. You're talking about a lot of cash and equity, top-end talent, second or first-round picks on players that can't make the field, and when they're on the field, they're hurting the team.
It almost seems like whoever's making the decisions needs to do a better job. In the past couple of years, the decision-making hasn't been that great overall. You know, you bring up Cole Strange, you bring up Tyquan Thornton, you were looking good with Christian Gonzalez, and you were looking good with Keon White, but you clearly chose wrong between Jacoby Myers and Juju. So it almost seems like it's when who's making these decisions. We know that Bill's not doing it all because it's a full-time job, and now the person doing it, you have to reevaluate. Okay, what's your approach, and do we change the person or do we change that person's approach?
But when it comes to players that you have that you could unload for reasonable value.
Okay. What's reasonable value?
I mean,
like a fifth, sixth round draft pick?
So Kyle Duggar, let's talk about that.
Kyle Duggar.
That came up with Bill yesterday on the show. And Bill said he would love to have him here for a long period of time. Although they haven't really negotiated with him yet on next season. You can get some value for Kyle Duggar.
You probably get a third-round pick for him. A playoff team would love to have a safety of his caliber. Because the biggest question is, are you going to pay him what he's going to want? He's going to want a nice payday, which he deserves. And are the New England Patriots going to make him one of the highest-paid safeties in the league?
Well, Bill said yesterday he would like him here for a long time, so I assume that he knows they're going to have to pay him.
He knows he would like him. Would being the key word in that statement.
A different statement than what we heard Wick say when it came to Jason Tatum, where the price doesn't matter. He is going to put the money forth when it comes to whatever Celtics player he wants. Bill saying, I would like to keep Kyle Duggar here. Yeah, we'd all like to keep certain players, but when push comes to shove, will he actually pay up?
I know you want to see him say farewell to Mac Jones. I don't know that there's any real value for Mac Jones.
But I would like to see them go in a new direction, and a trade of Mac Jones is a public admittance. What is it?
Admission of failure. Admission of failure.
God, I'm an idiot. A public admission of failure that shows that they understand the mistakes they have made and they're going in a new direction. And I have continued to be disappointed over and over again by the lack of a sense of urgency more than anything else that they understand how far they have to travel to get back to where they were. And there is just a disconnect between that knowledge and the ability to execute the moves necessary to get them back there.
Think about this, Greg, so we can kind of have an idea. Derwin James, the safety for the Chargers, he got a contract of a total value of $76 million. Micah Fitzpatrick, $72 million. Somewhere you're guaranteed in the range of, $36 to $42 million. So if you're Kyle Duggar, you're probably looking at that and going, okay, I'm still young. I think he's only 20. How old is he? He's 27. So this is his big payday. So he's got to be thinking to himself, that's the type of money that I want. Now, is New England willing to make him one of the highest paid safeties in the league?
Well, Bill was willing to do it with the guy that we're going to have on at 9 o'clock in Steph Gilmore. So maybe he's willing to do it with Kyle Duggar.
Yeah, maybe, because he doesn't do it often. And when he does do it, it seems like they're defensive guys. So maybe you're right. I think when you look at the highest paid player that the Patriots made somebody, Steph Gilmore would probably be the last guy.
And that was $24 million a year or something.
Well, yeah, I think the total contract was like $64 million at the time. I can't remember. I'll have to go back and check. But he did do it in free agency. So now this is your guy. Are you willing to get this deal done before he even hits free agency?
I mean, when it comes to Mac, Scheim, you still believe that there's value for Mac Jones?
Yeah, I mean, some. The point of trading Mac Jones, though, is to show that you're moving, like Curtis said, in a new direction, and to show the fan base that it's like, all right, we're not going to just settle for mediocrity. We're going to make some major changes, just like the Red Sox firing of Heim Bloom. It's more symbolic than anything.
Well, they could do
but
that.
You could get like a 5th-round pick for Mac Jones, sure.
But they could do that at the end of the season. They could, if they wanted.
Why
to.
wait?
His value is going to be dropped at the end of the
who's going
season.
to be? I mean, we discussed waving the white flag. You're giving up.
They're 2-6. It's over. I mean, season.
You're like lying down and playing dead if you get rid of Mac Jones.
You're last
Bailey
place
Zappi
in the
is your
AFC.
quarterback.
And if you don't do anything, though, aren't you still laying down? If the team's not changing at all, then couldn't you say the same thing?
No, because I think that, the quarterback is the most important player on the football team. And if you're basically saying our quarterback going forward the rest of the season is going to be a guy that we put on waivers, then you're basically telling everybody in that building, we give up. We're done.
Yeah, but I think
toast.
everybody in that building knows that. See, when you look at this situation, you got to ask yourself, when is Mac Jones' value at its highest? Is it right now or is it after the season? I would personally say it's right now for a team that might be in the hunt for the playoffs. So like the Minnesota Vikings, if they're looking for a quarterback that can help them get into the playoffs or make that playoff push, Mac Jones could potentially be the perfect fit. If you wait till after the season, the Vikings might be like, well, maybe it's better we just draft some guy. We're maybe moving on from Justin Jefferson. So you got to see. And then if you lost Kendrick Bourne, what's Mac Jones' value look like at the end of the season when you lose Kendrick Bourne, your best offensive player? Your offense is already struggling. So what's that going to look like now, taking a piece away?
And the only unacceptable answer, as Courtney alluded to, is doing nothing. Either we killed the Red Sox over and over again, right? For trying to middle it at the deadline. They either should be. I mean, there is no either. They should be selling.
Yeah,
Or if they make a move for Justin Jefferson or something, I'll run through the streets celebrating.
If they make a move for Justin Jefferson, to me, that's awesome, because what it tells you is they are thinking about the future.
Yep.
Because I think Justin Jefferson, he's supposed to be out anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, but they're saying, okay, we are making a move for the future. Because if you don't trade Mac Jones, you're going to have to make a decision after the end of the season.
Mac yesterday on Jones and Mego talked about the wide receiver core going forward and playing with the young guys.
Really want them to take advantage of the opportunity, and I've seen Booty play, in college and worked with him early in training camp and in the first game and stuff, and I have a lot of confidence in him. And same thing with Taekwon. He's from Florida. I've seen him play in high school. I've seen him play in college, and I've been really impressed with what he's done in the NFL. He just needs an opportunity, and I know he's going to take advantage of it, and I believe in a lot of those guys. And like I said, I want to grow with the young players, like Pop and everybody, and grow with them and see what we can do to kind of build for the future too.
Oh, you building for the wrong future, man.
No,
Him.
He's building for the future because he believes that he will be here in the future.
Well, I think someone needs to tell him something. It's just I'm like Curtis. We killed the Red Sox. You are in a position where everybody, I think inside and outside that building, granted they won't tell you, but they look at it and go that the likelihood of this team making the playoffs is very low. And if you're Bill, you got to be thinking about how can we get some assets? What could we potentially do? Let's trade off some pieces that might bring us some value back. Because what are you doing? I mean, if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to potentially re-sign Kyle Duggar, why are you waiting around?
And if Bill's not going to be the person leading this team into the future, then it would be wise to have someone else making these decisions. Because that's the reason why Parcells and Kraft split. Parcells was year to year. Kraft was trying to develop and build an organization from the ground up, and they had differing priorities. And
but I think the contract extension is somewhat of an indication that he is going to be leading this team for the near future.
If you were to sit down with your dad or your other dad, Robert Kraft, today, and you said, would you do the extension you did today if you hadn't done it over the summer? And my guess is if he was being truthful, and
he'd say no.
Yeah. Do you think they expected to be 2-6?
We're happy to have the Hillman down at Patriot Place. You've been with us since the beginning.
They are in last place in the AFC. They have the worst point differential in the AFC. They have the second worst point differential in the NFL, second only to the Giants by 2 points.
And I think the other thing is this. They've already hitched their wagon to who their guy is, and that's Bill Belichick. I think, by them with their the whole contract that they extension that they gave him, that tells me that they believe Bill Belichick is the guy that's going to be here. But I also think Bill doesn't believe Mac's the guy. So Bill needs to be going, okay, here's what's best for us moving forward at the quarterback position.